The Hebrew date, friends, is Yud Gimel Kislev, the 13th of Kislev, and that marks the Hilula of a really great Turkish rabbi. His name was Harav Rachamim Nissim Yehuda di Shigura, Zeche Tzadik Livracha. He was actually born in English year 1808 and passed away in 1880. He would have been about 72 years of age. Now, he'd become like a great rabbi. He'd become a judge in Izmir, a Dayan, as they say in Hebrew, and the author of great Torah works, including the Ekev and Abba, which was a Perush, let's just say an explanation on the Haggadah Shel Pesach, the Passover, let's say, liturgy in of itself, the Magid, the Barav, and many, many great books in of itself. Let's explore a few of the highlights of the great rabbi's life. Now, he was born in Izmir. And remember, we spoke about Izmir on various occasions before. It had a great Torah community, especially in the 17 and 1800s, respectively. He came from great heritage. His mother's name was Rabbanit Bat Sheba. I think Rusha Rosnes she came from, and his father's name was Rabbi Pinchas Raphael Yoshua di Shigura. Really, really great, great people in of itself. In fact, his father, I believe, was also the head of the Jewish court, a Rosh Yeshiva, a great Kabbalist, and a posek in Izmir, a rabbi that renders various different halachic decisions. And he happened to be the author of the great Torah book called the Ot Hi Le'olam. This was his great father, Harab Pinchas Raphael. Very, very interesting enough. While he was young, I think he did suffer from illness, and he would learn inside the Beit Midrash of the Gvirim, the great people in myself, including the brothers, I think Bachor, Mordechai, and Raphael Shlomo, and David Eliezer HaKohen, really great people in of itself. He would eventually become appointed as a Dayan in the Bet Din of Rabbi Moshe Barki. He is a rabbi we've spoken about on various occasions before in this series. He happened to be the rabbi of Izmir, respectively, a very prominent position. That was the rabbi who he served under. He would go on to become a great chazan, a payatan, a rabbi that will, let's say, compose great Jewish Torah poetry in of itself. And the Na'im Zemirot Yisrael, very, very interestingly enough, we have to point out. Also, he was, I believe he was mentioned in various different great Torah books in his generation in of itself. Especially Rabbi Avram Pelagi will quote him on various different occasions. Rabbi Rachamim Nissim Yitzchak Pelagi will mention him, I believe, in his book called Yafeh Lalev. And Rabbi Yosef Pontrimoli, another great rabbi we spoke about before, will quote him on many occasions. And also the famous Rabbi Chaim Pelagi, I think, brings various of his teachings of Torah where he taught to the throngs of public in of itself. I think in the book The Nefesh Chaim in of itself, I think page 26, if you want to double check, or Amud Bet inside that book. Remember, Rabbi Chaim Pelagi authored many great Torah works during while he was alive. Really, really great Torah books, and was probably arguably one of the most famous rabbis of Turkey, respectively. He was close to and learned with Rabbi Moshe Chaim Matzliach, who happened to be another great rabbi, I believe, in it of itself. He was, I believe, the author of the great book, the Em Abanim, also, and he was a close friend of another great rabbi of the name of Rabbi Chaim Yoshua Elazar HaKohen Chamtzi. He happened to be, I think, a Talmid of his father, respectively. He passed away himself in English year 1881, so he was around the same age exactly of him. He was a Moritz Tzedek. He happened to be the head of a Jewish court in Haifa, of all great places in of itself, and one of the great rabbis in of itself. Now, he passed away, just going back to the great rabbi who we are speaking about today, on Yud Gimel Kislev, in the Hebrew year Hey Tafresh Mem Aleph, that's naturally in English year 1880, and he was buried in Izmir. Many of the great Rabbanim would give him a very, very great eulogy in of itself, including Rabbi Avram Pelagi. And many other rabbis we spoke about quote him and mention him in various of their great books and teachings in of itself, especially Rabbi Nissim Chaim Moshe Modai. In his book, I think the Drashim Machayim, he would also write him in the highest esteem in of itself. Now, among his children, he had Rabbi Yitzchak Shmuel. I think he would print various, he would be a printer or publisher in Izmir, if I'm not mistaken. Also, Rabbi Moshe was one of his sons, and I believe he had 5 daughters also. Now, let's explore some of the great Torah books that he left us. He wrote many, many different great books, including the Ekev on Anava, which was printed in Izmir in the Hebrew year, Taf Resh Mem Aleph. I believe that was Perushim and Chidushim on the subject of Anava. Anava is obviously naturally in English, we call this, let's just say, Midat Tova, humility in of itself. And I believe it was on the Seder, the order of the Parashat Shigura in of itself. I think it featured 5 Megillot and Perushim on the Nevi'im, and the Ketuvim respectively, I believe. There was also on Hachnasat of Torah and various other great important Torah subjects. And then there was the great book, the Magid of Arab, which was printed in Izmir in the Hebrew year, Taf Resh Mem Aleph. It was a Perush, let's say, on the Haggadah of Pesach in of itself, and the halachot, the laws within regards to this Jewish festival. Then there was a Shevet Mioda, which was based on drashot in of itself. And there was a Drushim Hesvedim, another great Torah book that he had. Then the Yehuda Lekocho, which was a book on Psalms, on Tehillim. Then there was Ot Rachamim, the Tfilat Leoni. Another great book was Sefer Kritut, the Tziyun Rachamim, and the Sefer Ma'arechet, which I believe was another great Torah work in of itself. I'm not too sure if all these were printed at the end. Some of them might have been in manuscript form, but many, many great Torah writings and books. I think the most famous one was the Magid of Arab in of itself. Now, he passed away in English in 1880. He was about 72 years of age, great Dayan was, at the time of passing. Please, everyone, don't forget to light candles in the great Rabbi's memory. Friends, we are a community here. We've already covered probably about 75 to 80 rabbis in this series from Turkey alone. It was a capital place for Torah and Jewish life for many, many years, which we have to point out. And please don't forget to light candles in his memory. Wishing you all well. Take care. Rabbi Rachamim, Nissim, Yehuda, di Shigura. Zecher Tzadik Libracha. Take care and be well.